remember getting the invitation. Did the invitation go to my neighbor down the street? Did it get lost on email or in the snail mail? Like, I don't remember accepting any invitation to be here for the largest, global upheaval in modern history. It's like in March, we pushed off from the shore of what was known and what once was, and we moved into some pretty turbulent waters, right? The waters of what is yet to be. And before we reach firmer land, we all are experiencing together. And I think it's really underscoring the collective togetherness now and the connection of all of it. We're all experiencing these intense waves, whether it's the global pandemic and the repercussions of that, or stay-at-home orders, physical distancing, the economic, free fall. And now on top of all that comes the other layer of the uprising for racial justice led by young people. So like, to say that these times are epic is just an understatement. And having said all this, it's exhausting. Candace and Julie and I have been talking this week, and believe me, the theme of my talk has evolved greatly since we first connected. But these times are just challenging, and no matter how resilient or yoga savvy, I do yoga, or rise above it Zen, it's tough not to be snow globe shaken by the state of the world right now, because so much has changed, so much just feels off. And I'd love to, those of you who are comfortable, let us know. I'm curious how everyone's doing on a scale of 1 to 10. Show of hands. Some days I'm literally a 2. Some days I reach up to 6 and it feels like a great day. Today's an 8 because I'm with all of you. Exactly. I'm seeing some thumbs up and some hands. It's a challenging time, and I think it's okay to acknowledge, all of us, how challenging these times are. And wherever we are, whether it's, I see it hovering around 5 to 7 on some days. Anyone else care to share where you're at on some days? Yes, absolutely. Someone said about a 6. I'm seeing right now, I've got a 7 from Charlotte, and I'm seeing, who knows? It is, and we just have to acknowledge. I think part of this time is to acknowledge that we are where we're at, and there's no judgment, because everyone is going to go through this differently. We're all going to be processing and integrating what is, and some days what is really exciting, and other days it's just grim. So I'm so grateful that we can be here together. And my talk is really centered around that. Even with these challenging times, there's yet the idea that through us and with us, something new is being born. And yet, as dark as some things can look at times, what if we were actually made for these times, precisely here, to experience and to shape what's to come? What if from these, what we can call emergencies, something is going to emerge that will constitute some of the boldest breakthroughs ever, not just in science, but in humanity and for the planet and for women. So let's keep remembering, so much is uncertain right now, and that's part of the stress, right? Maybe that's a huge part of the stress, the unknown. But let's remember that as so much is uncertain, we are still absolutely, totally in control of one huge factor, and that is who we show up as in these times. We're still absolutely in control of who we're going to be in the midst of all of this. And I was reminded of that by actually a psychotherapist locally, Michael Gitter, a couple weeks ago, because I was writing an article for the health district to help kids cope during these wild and woolly times. And Michael said, he keeps telling his young clients, because he sees a lot of kids across northern Colorado, and he keeps saying that absolutely we aren't in control of what we're going to do or where we can go, but we are in total empowering control of who we are in these times. And so, and we can choose how much light we're going to bring to both ourselves and to others right now. So I say, let's turn up the wattage as much as we absolutely can. Let's seize this time. If things look dark, maybe we're the ones who have to bring the light. And we have to be the ones to claim that this is our time, and that and I want to assure us all, and I try and remind myself this because it's tough, right? It's so tough to remember this, but that we have inside of us what we need to navigate what is right now. And in a stormy world, as the author Clarissa Pinkola Estes said, in a stormy world, one of the most calming and powerful things we can do is stand up and show our soul. And I'm concluding, and I think that's what's beautiful about YSI, and I applaud all of you who created this. What's beautiful is that it's giving all of us a forum together to stand up and show our souls and lead with women's brilliance as much as we can, because the often still male-dominated world, let's face it, it's struggling. It's really struggling right now. And to me, the world is begging for women to rise up and usher in a more humane world based on our women's wisdom and based on collaboration, based on intuition and partnership. And women are expert at together collaborations that honor the common good, not just the narrow self-serving interests of a few. And so I think it's our opportunity, and scientists as our opportunity, as your opportunity to be the real architects of what's to come. And I don't mean this in a Hallmarky card kind of way. And I think it's hard to live sometimes and hard to really believe at times, but I keep telling myself, and I hope we can all start to see that collectively, that we can make the absolute best of these times. We could make the absolute best of these times with our sisterhood, with our gifts, with our voices, with our courage, so that we don't just survive, we actually thrive. And amid some of the darkness, it's wild and wonderful to see the glimmers of hope that are emerging. Like I get so much hope from the story of this young woman, and I'll share it with you because I think stories are also how we're going to be ushering in this new creation. So about 25 years ago, some of you will know this story. About 25 years ago, a young girl, Kizzy, was growing up in rural North Carolina amid the tobacco fields and the soybean farms. And teachers noticed just how exceptional this young girl, Kizzy, was. They said she seemed to know something about everything. She was so knowledgeable. And her mother said, well, Kizzy's always been like a little detective. She's my sweet little opinionated detective. But now, at years forward, that young woman at age 35 is Kizzmekia Corbett, who has emerged in this emergency as the chief female and Black scientist leading the government search for a vaccine to end the coronavirus outbreak. I love how her interviews with the press have been of late as well. She said, critical thinking is just how I roll. And so I love the humor along with the boldness and the critical thinking. Critical thought is just how I roll. And I find, again, so much hope in Kizzy's story, because it's one of the many myriad glimmers of light at work right now being created. And you and I can stand up and claim our greatness too and show our soul. And as she's showing, be the light that's needed, be the solutions that are needed right now. And I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. We all know it's not easy, right? Yeah, this is not easy. It can be exhausting, it can be hard, it can be infuriating to be the first, to be the one, to have that much responsibility on your shoulders. I know those of you, Candace is leading, much of the effort, the COVID-related research on campus. I know that it's a huge weight and responsibility along with the privilege, but it's challenging, and it can be exhausting. Corbett was saying that she's working furiously, and her quote in, I believe it was, I can't remember if it was NBC or the Washington Post, she said there was and is already a fair amount of pressure, because a lot of people are banking on us, or they feel that we have a product that could at least be part of the answer that this world needs. And whew, you know, just saying that out loud is not easy, she said. Whew, just saying that out loud and claiming that is not easy. And like many of us, trying to make our mark in the world or bust a glass ceiling and achieve some ambitious results that are needed. And as an African American woman, Kizzmekia said that she's still striving for the respect that she's due. She said in meetings and on emails or on conference calls, at least a few times every day, scientists around the world double check her work with her male colleague, or they direct questions to him or thank him, even though he's made it absolutely clear that she is in charge of the work and is the leader of the team. And so many of us can relate to that. You know, on top of all of this and not getting haircuts for 4.5 months, we're also having to deal still with some of these barriers for for ambitious women. And so Kizzmekia said, quote, "At some point, you have to decide how much to care. And you have to understand that your work will have to be mighty so that it can be your speaking." And I implore all of us to be as mighty as we possibly can right now, because there is an opening. There is an opening for us to stand with each other and let our work and our voices and our talents and our brilliance speak mighty volumes, because it is our time, and it's time for women of science to achieve all that they can. I think it was just as I was like polishing my speech, final, dotting of the I's this afternoon, I saw an Instagram post from Prince William in the UK, and he was meeting with some of the scientists at Oxford who were on the front lines of their search for a vaccine. And it was very apparent that he was meeting with women on the team. And so I think about how symbolic that is, and the repercussions and the signals and the wonderful waves that sends around the world. And so let's stand together. On May 6th, the Washington Post did an article about Kizzy Corbett, and the headline was, "Kizzmekia Corbett spent her life preparing for this moment." And I have to say, I believe that we've all been preparing for this moment. Again, I don't think there's any accident. And on some days we may think, oh, why did I sign up for this? Whose idea was this? But I believe that we are here to be the light, to be the solutions, to be the brilliance, to be the steadiness. Women have a gift of holding steady at times when we need steady leaders to bring about some really vexing solutions to vexing problems. And so here's just 3 things I'd love to discuss with you that I believe can hopefully help us and also keep us hopeful and energized at the same time as we do this work together. Number 1, I think we, again, as she's showing, we have to boldly claim our voice and our gifts and use them to be the difference. This is certainly not the time to play small, my friends. And I believe, because I've interviewed some of them or captured their stories of the one change agent who rocked the world for good. I believe this is our time to rock the world for good. And with no apologies, no submission, we can boldly bring what's needed. And we have to say what has to be said at times, because there's too much at stake to be silent, and also way too much to gain to not say what needs to be said. And sometimes that is as tough as it gets, I know, speaking from my own life, and I know some of your experience too. We have to bear witness to what is and not look away and try and, again, be that calm, steady, feminine power that's needed in the world. And I think of, Darnella Frazier. George Floyd's death has, of course, created a firestorm and a call for justice. But not many people have zoomed in on Darnella Frazier, the 17-year-old young woman who took the video of his death. And I don't know how she got the bravery to do that, but she has said that she, in documenting in that 10 minutes of history unfolding before her eyes, that she didn't intend to be a hero. Her attorney has said she's just a 17-year-old high school student with a boyfriend and a job at the mall who decided to do the right thing. And she's the Rosa Parks now for generations, he said. Darnella said for herself in one interview, quote, "The world needed to see what I was seeing. Stuff like this happens in silence too many times." And so these iconic figures are rising up right now to give us all, I think, courage and hope and solidarity, and to remind us of what we're made of. Because women, it's easy to forget. It's easy to forget in the stress of what we're going through right now, just what we're made of. Because I certainly forget every other day, if not every day, and have to remind myself or read an inspiring story. So let's remember what we're made of, because there are so many tipping points at hand right now, right? For women, for people of color, for marginalized populations, for young people who are on fire to change the world. If we stand up, we give each other courage. We give all of us courage to stand up. And our voice might make all the difference in smashing hate speech or ending bigotry, or blocking injustices. And our voice might be absolutely the light that's needed to build a bridge right now. Second recommendation I would say is, let's bring our whole heart and soul to what we do. Michelle Obama has talked about that even with all the criticism she has received, she kept trying to remember to bring her whole self to what she has done and will continue to do, because that's how women lead, and that's our unique secret sauce, that women are designed to pair compassion with intellectual clarity. Women merge passion with purpose and rigor and discipline. Women are brilliant at that, and women are brilliant at easing tensions and bringing people together when we allow ourselves to. So when I talk with younger women, for example, and younger students, women and young men in schools, I ask them questions that now a lot of adults are wanting me to address in my talks, to help us all get clarity now. And I call to myself to ask myself, what am I passionate about? What's changed now in the last 4 months? What am I passionate about? And what gets under my skin and wakes me up at 2 o'clock in the morning that I cannot let go of? Conversely, what lights me up and gets me so excited that I would love to ignite it and spread it across the world if I could? And I ask myself this a lot, I'm sure some of you can relate. How can I channel my strong emotions, whether it's anger or disgust or fear, for a greater good? How can I harness that and channel that for a greater good, so that I don't let those emotions stagnate, and I use that energy for good? I don't become bitter, but I use that energy for good. I decide that I will be someone that the world needs right now. And it's tough, again, it's really tough, because it's such an individual prescription too, isn't it? I mean, some of us will write letters. Some of us, like myself, can write books and speak. Some of us will be in the lab, working feverishly to create what's needed. Some of us will run for office or volunteer. Some of us will support young people and nurture the next generation and let them know that they're heard, that they're not invisible. Some of us will work for justice. Some of us, we'll do so many other things. I think about these cheerleaders I heard in New Jersey who refused to have their voices sidelined when the lockdown happened. It was just a group of young girls in New Jersey who said, we're not going to let our voices stay silent. Why would we do that? And so they started raising money for healthcare workers in Jersey, and they raised so much money. These young, I think they were 11-year-olds. They raised so much money that they ended up supporting thousands of healthcare workers across New Jersey and into New York City, of course. And some of the healthcare workers said that it made all the difference, that they were so moved that they were on the radar of these powerful 11-year-olds. So I love that story too. And no matter how we're working, I think we just have to trust that history is being made by all of us as we play to our individual strength. The final thing I would say, and maybe I should have led with this actually, is this is just as powerful, and maybe the one thing we forget the most is to take good care of ourselves, everyone. I mean, I really, really mean that. Take the absolute best, gorgeous, loving, nurturing care of yourself, because it's a rhythm, right? For me, I keep telling myself, it's the rhythm of rest and replenish and then rise up, take care of myself, and then be on fire to do what I need to do. But I think that we forget that that is just as smart and strategic. You know, I keep telling myself that time with my sunflowers and my lavender and my roses in my gardens is smart and strategic as well, because it just fills me up for this journey that we're on. And that I have to have mountain time. How fortunate are we that we have the mountains to escape in if we can, or some piece of nature. Because I think this is as intense a time as many of us have or ever will experience. And I think it calls us right now to remember every day to do something to balance, to actively calm our nervous systems and to stay centered. And so tap into whether it's breathing or hopeful thinking or just pausing and daydreaming, or spending time again in nature or gardening or sleeping, taking power naps. And let's help each other remember that. And let's help each other be okay to ask for help or a listening ear when we are overwhelmed, and ask for someone to just be with us to help us get through this. And let's help each other remember we are not machines. You know, we are not machines, and we don't have to emulate the male model that worships efficiency and results at the detriment of our health and our well-being. I can't stress that enough, because I still keep seeing us trying to power through moments that cannot be powered through without a huge impact on our health. And I also have found, I've done it myself, I've done it with book deadlines, I've done it with many deadlines, but I've also learned sometimes the tough way that if I take a moment, the moment that is needed to pause and rejuvenate and be still and maybe just shut out the world and take a nap, that's where the creative juice and solutions really come anyway. And I think that's what brings the joy and the compassion and the empathy and the motivation flooding back into my work if I take really good care of myself. And so again, YSI, brilliant timing for your creation, because you can help each other do some of these steps as well. And so in conclusion, I would just say it is showtime. It's showtime, and we all have a role right now to play. And so shine your light and lean into this moment, knowing that there may be a destiny. You know, if we're here right now, there must be some purpose that we're going to provide that can hopefully help us get to, I don't even say a new normal, because I don't think we'll get to an old normal, a new normal. I think we will just get to a different place. And yes, that can absolutely be scary and unsettling. And yes, many things can look dark and grim right now. And the solutions, no, won't be easy or readily available sometimes. But I also believe that we can be crystal clear in our choice to be change agents and ask for help. And I also believe greatly in asking for help from all the ancestors who've come before us to help us get through this moment, to help us thrive, to help us have illuminations of clarity and brilliance and breakthroughs that we need. Wherever your help comes from, I believe in a mind-body-spirit connection strongly, and I believe in invoking whatever help and assistance you can get. and trusting your intuition. And soon we'll be landing in that new destination. Soon we'll be landing in that new destination. I mean, many of us wanted to be in a different destination now. I had planned, I mentioned to Candace and Julie, I had planned about this time to be in a whitewashed cottage in Croatia, overlooking the turquoise Adriatic Sea with orange and pink bougainvillea spilling over the edges of the rooftops and the flower boxes. And instead, I'm heading 10 minutes away for orange chicken later today from Trader Joe's. And so it's a whole new reality. But yet, I think it's an incredible privilege to be here now and witness what is and hopefully be part of what's to come. And Clarissa Pinkola Estes, again, the author, said, struggling souls catch light from other souls who are fully lit and willing to show it. And let's try and resolve to show up and to show that light together and to help one another, struggles and all, for some of the achievements that we're going to realize. Because I think that there are great things coming from all this uncertainty, and if we can trust that that's going to emerge more too, I think we can do this more easily together. So again, a joy, a pleasure, great gratitude for being here. And Julie, I'm happy to take any questions that you might have.
Well, thank you, Susan, so much. Maybe we can all clap or thumbs up. Thank you. Does anyone, there's a lot of comments on the chat. Things like they love the idea of replenish, rest, and rise up. Yes, self-care is not just about bubble baths. It is a system of putting yourself first so you can be there for the important people in your life. You can't pour from an empty vessel. So it seems like a lot of people on the call or the Zoom is really excited about what you were just telling us all. Does anyone have any questions that they would like to ask Susan at this time? I think you can unmute yourself if you would like to, or just write in the chat. I had a quick question, Susan. So I know you had just written, or recently written the book, was it, I had the title somewhere.
Your Voice Matters?
Yeah, Your Voice Matters. Do you think through all of this, do you foresee yourself having a new book coming out that's kind of on this kind of realm of thinking? Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not sure yet, because I've been reaching out and gathering more stories. I am absolutely fascinated by what many call the youth quake, the young people who are stepping into their own power, even at 11 years old, to make a difference. And for whatever reason, they seem to be here now to be the voice, to be the idealist, to be the hope, to also speak truth to power in a really, unvarnished, tough way at times. But I don't know, I'm gathering more stories from students and from young people to see what they're doing. But at the same time, I've also thought about writing maybe just a more personal, lighter book, or a blog, perhaps. I'm turning 65 this year. So I thought, maybe I'll do a blog, stuff I know at 65, because I also think there's a lot of wisdom, right, in those of us of a certain age sharing, what we've learned along the way with younger people too. So to be continued. I think that's in the realm of uncertainty as well.
Awesome. Well, if you do start a blog, please let us know, because I would definitely look at that. So there is a question here.
Thank you, Sarah.
Sarah Weeks, who said, do you do any work with the Women's Foundation Northern Colorado? A lot of what you talk about with women reminds me of the mission and work.
I have, Sarah. I've worked with the Women's Foundation when I was doing nonprofit work based on supporting developing world women and girls. So for example, when I was working with some groups based in Colorado that were helping secure safe water for girls or education, I was working with the Women's Foundation then. And Yeah, that's a great reminder, though. I should reach out to them because I know that their mission just keeps getting even more relevant and wonderful. So I'll reach out to them as well because I know they're doing a lot more up in northern Colorado too. I'd love to hear from anybody too about, you know, any glimmers of hope and light that they're seeing. You know, what gives them encouragement on their toughest days. Love to anybody to comment on what's giving you even just a little glimmer of hope on some of the tougher days.
Nobody.
That I'm loved by the people around me and that I share love with them.
That you're loved by the people around you and that you share love with them. Absolutely.
Friends, family. Another of my friends just finished her PhD last Friday and defended successfully. Knowing that we love each other and support each other is valid.
Yeah, absolutely. That's as strong as it gets. Yeah. And I think that's, again, one of the amazing things coming from this. You know, I was reading an article that said that around Father's Day, they were saying that a lot of the research is showing that dads are bonding and having, you know, the relationship with their kids are it's getting so much deeper. So I think that, you know, that's happening so much. And at the same time, don't you also feel like our appreciation of our connectedness with people around the world is getting deeper too and keener, and I love that as well. Someone said the positive impact we're seeing in the environment. Whew, absolutely. Yeah. Nature.
Nature will be here and beautiful even as viruses and economic crises bring us down. Well, as long as the climate holds, they put in parentheses. Someone else said, I work daily with new freshman students coming to the CSU in the fall 2020, and they're excited. Even with what's happening in the world, they have something to look forward to. Watching my plants grow, having hope in what the future will bring, and seeing the changes that are already happening.
Yeah. And I'd love, yeah, how can we as women come together even more to collaborate and support each other more? YSI is a brilliant opportunity. Here's another comment. Can you read it, Julie?
Yeah, I've also been so heartened to see that some of my older relatives in their 70s are willing to change their opinions and try to understand how the Black Lives Matters protesters must be feeling. More time with my kids, old industries thinking more innovative. Love the connection with others across the world on Facebook groups like View from my window.
Yeah, I love that. If you guys haven't checked that out, I really recommend that. I agree, Gretchen, that it's View from my window, and then there's another one. I believe it's called What I See from my window. And it's just absolutely amazing. People are like, you know, they're photographing. It could be someone in Red Feather, Colorado, photographing the moose outside their window. It could be someone in Venice photographing how the you know, the environment in Venice has cleaned up. It could be someone Romania. I had no idea how gorgeous Romania was. And then people tell stories and anecdotes of how they're feeling the connection with other people around the world and how they're pulling for other people's well-being, and, you know, all these beautiful notes of staying safe and stay well, and we're all in this together. And people in New York were posting pictures from their window of you know, ambulances below, and, you know, asking for support and solidarity with them. So it's, yeah, some beautiful connections are happening.
Also, of what we do, it must not divide generations or let them divide. We are all in this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm inspired by educators who are finally willing to rethink our school systems and structures that don't serve all children. Here's another one that says, I think watching all the COVID-19 researchers coming together and collaborating to move together, find a solution has been great also. Sometimes STEM can seem so siloed and competitive. And then earlier I missed one where it said how a diverse group of young people are coming together to show that how we treat everyone does really matter. So really good, really good.
Yeah, yeah, and And it's going to take some time, right, to even put in perspective everything that's happening, because so much is at stark relief right now. And so I think, you know, some of it is just witnessing again what's happening and then processing individually how we feel about all of it, and if we feel called to participate in any way. I know when Candace and I first talked about this, you know, we had Zoomed in, I think that was maybe back in, I can't remember, January, February, Candace, about, you know, that the theme would be what calls to us, you know, listening to our own intuition and our calling. And and there's certainly a lot of things that might be calling to us right now. And I think the recommendation that I would give is just to trust, just to really trust that you will know what's right for you, and what's right for me won't be right for anyone else. And it's a real time of individualism, I think, to really get clear on how we're going to walk through this, and what we might do to really create that better world that's coming.
Someone wrote, or Sarah wrote, we haven't had worries about school shootings in the past months either. Heidi wrote, 30,000 people come together every week on Zoom to find calm, tap into the neuroscience and meditation, and to probably just, I don't know, it stopped at that point, and to meditate is what it says.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Another comment says, our college has finally formed a diversity committee. When I asked, agreed to dedicate one of our department seminars to a panel discussion on diversity and inclusion. Again, finally. Those little shifts give me some hope for the future and real impacts of current events. She's not at CSU, but she's at another institution.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's again, it's so heartening, as someone said, seeing the generations coming together and doing this. And I think with respect to, you know, women in science, there again are going to be so many openings. You all know so much more in terms of this than I do, in terms of the openings that are going to be happening, because I think there will be new collaborations, new opportunities, and to see the global collaboration that's going to be happening, I think is going to be quite exciting as well. And meditation, you know, I think we're going to be learning so much more about the mind-body scientific underpinnings of meditation, because we're going to be relying more on things like that to just stay calm and centered and powerful. I know it's been heartening to see some of the global meditations with people, you know, millions of people participating. So I think some of this is also being, you know, there's much more legitimacy that will shine on some of these tools as well. So it's yeah, I think, you know, there's going to be, and Candace has a comment, I can't.
It says, there are a plethora of women in science at CSU that are driving the COVID research.
Yes, hallelujah. And thank you to all of you. And again, thank you to Candace. And when I first read that, it was just so thrilling to know that we have this underway here. And then we're all part of the piece, right? That we don't know yet. We don't know how our pieces of the puzzle are all going to fit together. And I think that's what's heartening about it. And to, again, not to negate, if anything, to overemphasize the impact that one person or one team can have right now.
Right. Thank you so much. I know we wanted to try to get a picture of us all, or a lot of us on Zoom. If everyone would be willing to turn on their camera just for a second. Candace was gonna shoot a couple pictures of everyone. All of your beautiful faces.
Julie, could you read that picture or that comment as well that Sarah just posted?
Yeah, it says that people who would not speak up in person or in public might find their voice in a virtual space, which is totally true. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's empowering to know that collectively more are speaking up, and there's no right way to do it. If you're more comfortable speaking to testify, or if you're more comfortable writing or sending in a letter. Look at everybody.
I like
Beautiful.
your masks.
Beautiful.
Were you able to get those, Candy? Hopefully.
Yes, I got everybody.
Okay. Well,
Beautiful.
thank you.
Oh, this is wonderful. Now that feels like a lot of powerful collective energy right there. That's wonderful. Let's try and remember, everybody, that we're not, we might be physically distant, but we are not separate in the best sense of the word. Really feel that connection that we have, because and reach out if you need to explore that, with someone, if you're blocked, or if you're needing inspiration, or if you're needing sustenance or encouragement. Just assume that everyone is needing that right now. There's nothing wrong or weak about asking for a fellow woman to help you during these times, because we will need each other. Yeah, we will need each other. I'm so grateful for both my professional and my personal friends right now, because when one woman is down, and two more are up, and vice versa. And there's no judgment about being right where you're at. We can't do this alone. And I think that's also what we're learning, that we cannot always do this alone, and we're not meant to, right?
Hillary, do you have a question? It just has her hand up, but maybe not. Maybe it was an accident.
I have a question.
You do?
No, I do not.
Oh, okay. It just had your little hand came up all over.
Sorry.
Someone said, I think that it's really important to hear. We're told so often to suppress our emotions and not need emotional support. So thanks for saying that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're still evolving in that regard. And I think I have learned, again, sometimes in a tough way, that my emotions can be that North Star for me. And if I'm seeking guidance, I have to tune into my emotions and channel them for a greater good. And really, you look at some of our most iconic leaders, Nelson Mandela, the Prime Minister of New Zealand, Jacinda, right now. So many do that brilliantly, and they do it publicly, and they do it in a way that empowers all of us. Yeah, to lead with our heart, exactly, and adjust with the head. Brilliant, Heidi. Heidi said, lead with the heart and adjust with the head. Exactly. And women do that. They say, the research shows women do that very instinctively. And if we allow ourselves and empower ourselves to do that, that's where the magic happens. And we really need them. Again, the opening right now is for us to be able to bring that and to do that collectively, so that we can go the distance and create some of the change that we need right now.
Well, thank you so much, Susan. Does anyone else have any questions or comments they'd like to?
Well, thank you all. This has been wonderful. It's been a joy and a privilege. And thank you again, Candace, Julie, and Chris as well, for weaving me in for this opportunity. And let me know how I can support you in the future as well.
Well, thank you. And stay tuned, everyone. You'll get some emails for upcoming events, and put that April 22nd on your calendar for next spring, because we'll definitely have the Women in Science Symposium in some form for sure next spring. So thank you to everyone for coming. It was great to see all your beautiful faces and just be able to hear you talk, Susan. It was great. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank
Have a
you.
good afternoon.
Bye.
Bye.